Greetings, students. My name is Mrs. Ivory. I serve as the Assistant Director of Intercultural Affairs, and the Office of Student Life and Activities wants to welcome you to Howard University and encourage you to get involved this year. You'll see our theme for today is to fulfill your purpose in SLA using a different world, which is very similar to our college campus. And we are thrilled that you are going to join us this year. The Office of Student Life and Activities is responsible for advising all of the recognized student organizations and to encourage a leadership development and an environment outside the classroom that encourages retention and graduation, but also we want to make sure that you're having a good time and getting involved in student organizations that reflect all of your interests. The types of student organizations we have in Student Life and Activities range from academic organizations to career, to community service organizations, to fraternities and sororities, to civil, cultural organizations, and LGBTQ+ student organizations. Our office does programming surrounding leadership development as well. And so it's important to us that you are having the skills you need to get through your classroom requirements, but also that you're able to get the other tangible skills you'll need to work with other people and to understand what it's like to be involved. So I'd like to introduce you to our Student Life and Activities team. I do have photos of everyone except for one person. Mr. Evans is the coordinator for Fraternity Sorority Affairs. So he's the advisor for all of the fraternities, sororities, and all of what we call our competitive selective organizations. So those of you who are interested in joining graduate level fraternities and sororities, he would be the person you talk to. Mr. Thrower is the advisor of our HUSA Senate, which is a branch of student government, our Undergraduate Student Assembly, which is our undergraduate programming body, and also the Royal Court, which is the Mr. and Miss Howard University, and the school and college courts. The last photo is me, Gael Ivory, and I serve as the advisor for all of the graduate organizations, which you all are welcome to join, the intercultural organizations, and what we call the general student organizations, so all of the state clubs, religious clubs, academic clubs, and so forth. Unfortunately, we do not have a photo for Ms. King, but she is the administrative coordinator and she's essentially our office's glue. She keeps us all together and manages our office's budget. Ms. Watson is a program assistant for the office and she assists me with the general student organizations. Ms. Outlaw is the director of Student Life and Activities. She supervises everyone, and she is the secretary of our funding opportunities. So student organizations are able to request funding to do their programs and community service events, and she serves as the gatekeeper essentially to the funding opportunities. Why get involved? Many of you may have been involved in student organizations at your undergraduate institution. And what you might have found is that what you're doing in the classroom is necessary for graduation, but what you're doing outside of the classroom really is what builds your college experience. And getting involved in student organizations can be something that helps you build lifelong friends, can help you develop your network, and also folks who are involved in student organizations are much more likely to graduate and have a sense of solidarity with their college campus. And so we encourage students to, of course, focus on their studies as this is the priority. However, getting involved on campus and in student organizations can offer an additional level of love for your institution. Now, how do we get involved? I talked about a number of different organization types. This photo is a NASAP conference, which is a conference for all HBCU students to attend. It happens every June. And this is a number of undergraduate students who we were able to bring, but this is one opportunity that is available to students who are involved in student organizations. Many of the schools and colleges have conferences in the various academic disciplines, and student organizations sometimes send students free of charge or with assisted help to be able to travel to those conferences. But these are some of the examples of the organization types I talked about: student government, elections, Royal Court, fraternities and sororities, yearbook, and the Hilltop. Many of you may have writing skills, photo taking skills, or layout like on Adobe, Acrobat, and those could be useful on the yearbook team or the Hilltop newspaper, which are both amazing publications to get involved in. I myself advise the yearbook, and we work on capturing Howard's history for the year. And they're always looking for folks to write, to take photos, and to help develop the layout for the book. And so the Hilltop newspaper is the same. And if you get involved with those, it's an opportunity for you to be a part of capturing Howard's history for the year. Now, the Howard University Student Association is Howard University's version of student government. And there are opportunities for graduate students to be involved in student government, to be elected, to campaign and run and be elected into these positions. Now, on the screen, you'll see the branches of student government. The executive branch, which has the president and the vice president and their staff. The HUSA Senate, which is the legislative branch of student government. And each school and college, like Graduate Arts and Science, has representatives that serve on the HUSA Senate. And they attend Senate meetings, they vote on policy for students, and also they vote to approve funding for student organizations that request funding. And so serving on the HUSA Senate is a huge responsibility and a huge opportunity to represent your student population. And we do have elections twice a year. We have elections in the fall by the last Wednesday in September, and then we have elections in April for the following year, which is the first Wednesday in April. The other opportunities you have to get involved are on the Graduate Student Assembly. The Graduate Student Assembly is the programming arm of student government for graduate students. I'm going to show you some photos in a little bit of some of the programs they do, but this is another opportunity for you to get involved. Say the Senate, which is more legislative and policy oriented. If that's not something they're interested in, maybe you're more interested in the programming, the fun activities, then the Graduate Student Assembly may be more for you. The other opportunity are the college and school councils. So I talked about the Senate, which is senators from each school and college, the Graduate Student Assembly, which are representatives from each school and college, and then the college and school councils are the actual president, vice president, treasurer, secretary of each school and college. Graduate Arts and Science has a president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, and actually those positions are currently vacant. So I'm going to talk further about that in August when we're closer to beginning school, but there are opportunities for one of you to serve as the president, vice president, treasurer, secretary of this year's council. And elections information will be coming soon. The Elections Commission is actually responsible for coordinating elections for student government. And I already mentioned the branches of student government, but all of these positions are elected. That means that anyone who wants to run for these positions has to have the minimum GPA, which is a 2.7, has to fulfill all academic, judicial, and financial requirements that I'll get into in a little bit, and has to commit to working on behalf of their students. And so again, Senate, Graduate Student Assembly, and the college and school councils are opportunities for graduate students to get involved. And I think if you are interested in representing your students and making decisions for your school, then I highly recommend that you run for student government. I talked about some photos I would share. The Graduate Student Council is the elected council for the Graduate School of Arts and Science. Here are some photos of some of their events from last year. They did a community service event where you can see them with their brown paper bags, making sandwiches for folks. And these are opportunities for them to get to know one another, for them to get to know other students in the school and college, and for them to serve the community in the DC area. So not only are you representing students here at Howard in the school, but you're also having an opportunity to make a contribution to our local area. Now, the Graduate Student Assembly, I talked about the Senate being more legislative and the Graduate Student Assembly doing more of the programming parts of student leadership. One of the events the Graduate Student Assembly does is the annual ski trip. And this takes place over President's Day weekend every February. And this is a picture of all of us right before we were about to get on the ski lift, but it's a lot of fun. And what with all that's happening now, there of course may be some modifications to the programming that we do this year, but it's still an opportunity for folks to get involved in the programming aspects of student life. And students attend the ski trip from all different schools and colleges. So while you may be here with students in arts and sciences, something like the ski trip or getting involved in assembly is an opportunity for you to get to know students from the law school, from the pharmacy school, from the medical school, from social work, dentistry, divinity, all of the graduate schools that I haven't mentioned. Now, fraternity sorority affairs. We do have a large number of fraternities and sororities. There are some organizations that you can join if you are elected, which means you have to campaign, have a minimum GPA, and then serve students. There's some organizations that you can go to a meeting, pay dues, and join. Maybe fill out an application, and that's all it takes. And then there's some organizations that you have to go through a membership intake process to be able to join. And those are what we call our competitive selective organizations. Now I'm going to go through some of the types we have, and then I'll talk specifically about some of the ones we have for graduate students. The National Panhellenic Council, actually, a few of these organizations were founded right here at Howard University. The majority of these organizations are actually for undergraduates, but one of these is actually for graduate students, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, Theta Tau Chapter. The next is our Council of Independent Organizations. The National Panhellenic Council is the Council of Historically Black Fraternities and Sororities. This is our Council of Independent Organizations. So they have academic disciplines that they're related to or other things. So Alpha Phi Omega, for example, is a community service organization. Kappa Epsilon, Kappa Psi are both pharmacy organizations, and so on and so forth. And some of these others are actually undergraduate organizations. Now, with organization involvement, we also have to consider our statement on hazing. So every organization has a constitution, has specific policies and rules, and along with our office, to be able to be involved, and rules that you have to follow in order to remain active. But we do have a zero tolerance policy against hazing, as it violates campus regulations, the student code of conduct, and sometimes city and state and country laws. And so again, we have a zero tolerance policy against hazing, and no student or student organization should be engaging in any behaviors that are not a part of the official constitution or organization's process. Now, to join a fraternity or sorority and to prevent any sort of hazing, we want to make sure that students are aware of all the things that are required to be able to join a fraternity or sorority. And so we have what's called the Membership Education Summit, which is a mandatory meeting training for all students who are interested in joining fraternities and sororities. And it's essentially an anti-hazing training. So students are aware of what is allowed, is appropriate behavior when pursuing membership in these organizations, and what's not. We do charge a fee for the training. It is $30, and it lasts for 2 years, which gives you all 2 years to pursue membership and to be selected if you decide to do it. And the summit is a full day. It typically is on a weekend. And after you attend, then you potentially will be cleared to be able to seek membership into one of the fraternities and sororities. This is only required for the competitive selective organizations. So the other organizations I mentioned, like student government, where you are elected, or some of the general organizations like the academic clubs or state clubs or cultural clubs, you would not have to attend to be able to join. Now, what are some of the benefits of membership in these Greek letter organizations? I talked earlier about developing lifelong friends. I myself am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I joined at Temple University in 2008, and the women I met in that organization have been my best friends since then. There is an increased networking opportunities, meeting members who are currently at your school and also at other schools, and in jobs that you may apply for, you may have members in those organizations. Again, folks who are involved in organizations have an increased chance of having a relationship with their school, serving as more engaged alumni, so on and so forth. Intercultural affairs is the area that I manage. And so along with leadership development and student life and activities, our office is also devoted to inclusion. And so I advise specifically the LGBTQ+, which is the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer plus student organizations, along with the international student organizations. One of the things our office recognizes is that there are populations here at Howard that need additional visibility and support. And so we have specific trainings that are required for student leaders to attend so that they are in their organizations creating inclusive environments. And so we encourage students to attend these trainings, to open their minds to the types of students that they may encounter, and to ensure that they themselves are encouraging safe and brave spaces and inclusive environments within their organization. And so we include a few opportunities. We have an LGBTQ+ advisory council, which is composed of administration, faculty, and staff who are all committed to inclusion, LGBTQ+ inclusion. We meet monthly to discuss what are some of the issues and challenges that students are facing now, and how can we address them. We also have the Lavender Fund, which is a scholarship opportunity for LGBTQ+ students specifically. We give it out annually during homecoming week in October, and we typically give it to 3 students and there's an application process, and students are able to apply and receive. And I think we've awarded about 9 students in the last couple of years. The Caribbean Student Association also does a scholarship for undergraduates, and we offer inclusive language trainings. Typically, we do the inclusive language trainings with faculty staff by request, but it also ensures us that our faculty and staff are encouraging inclusive environments in their classroom. So our office's goal is to ensure at the organization level, at the faculty and staff level, in the classroom, and just in our campus as a whole, we are creating an inclusive environment for all students. Now, you can join some student organizations. The Graduate Student Council is one, I talked about them already. There's a Graduate History Association, there's an African Studies Graduate Student Association, there's a Graduate Economics Association, the GSA I talked about, along with Senate Yearbook and Hilltop Newspaper. There's a number of different other organizations as well that exist in the other schools and colleges. And we also have a website that we use called Engage that you can use to learn about all of the organizations. We also are going to be accepting new organizations in the spring. So perhaps you went to Engage and you went to our website and you didn't see an organization that you think can really make a contribution. Well, maybe you might be interested in starting your own. We'll begin to accept applications in about January, February of 2021. And it should not repeat an organization that already exists. And we do ask that you have a minimum of 10 people who are willing to join the org with you. The reason we do that is so that we can ensure that the organization will exist after you graduate. And so we do encourage you to find a wide variety of students who are interested in the org so that it can be maintained even after you're gone. And I will say that of the 200 organizations that we have that are active, a minority of them are graduate student organizations. For good reason, you all are very busy, but more graduate organizations are needed. Talked about the Bison Yearbook. So if any of you have any writing skills, if you're used to writing copy stories, if any of you have any photography skills, we're always looking for photographers to take photos for a yearbook for Howard University that's going to exist forever. So you could take a role in contributing to Howard's history. If you have any skills with layout editing, we're always looking for people who have skills with Adobe, Photoshop, Lightroom, and all of the Adobe software. And so if you have those skills, we'd love to have you join one of the teams on the yearbook. And the same with the Hilltop Newspaper. Some of you at your previous institution, or even before that, maybe in high school, may have been involved in intramural sports. Now, again, there may be some differences this fall with how available some of these sports are, but perhaps student organizations aren't necessarily what you did when you were involved in school, but maybe sports are. So these are some of the intramural sports that we have available for both undergrad and graduate students. 5-on-5 basketball, flag football, soccer, volleyball, dodgeball, softball, kickball, bowling, all of these. So there's a wide variety, just like there's a wide variety of student organizations, there's a wide variety of sports that you can be involved in. Now I'm coming to a close to this presentation, but there are some important dates that I would like for you to consider. Every year we have a student organization fair. I said that we have about 200 active organizations. And again, with coronavirus, there may be some modifications to how we're able to do these things, but the organization fair is an opportunity for you to learn about all of the different organizations we have. And typically we have this event either the week before school starts or during the first couple of weeks of school. I talked about elections. Elections have to take place by the 4th Wednesday of September. So as I said, there is a full council available for you to run for. You can serve as the president of the Graduate Student Council, which means you are the president of the Graduate School of Arts and Sciences student body, which is a huge deal and a wonderful opportunity for you to represent students in your school. All of those positions are vacant, and so you can run for those positions beginning once school starts. The Membership Education Summit, actually the date is to be determined, but it typically is in the beginning of the semester to take place before membership intake. And then finally, for those interested in starting a new student organization, those applications will be due in the spring of 2021. I introduced our team at the beginning, but here is the contact information for everybody on the team. My contact information is at the top right corner, gael.ivory@howard.edu. It is my email address, and please feel free to email me. I usually get back within a couple of days, and I'm available to answer any questions about student organization involvement, intercultural affairs, or anything else that you may be interested in. And if I can't answer the question, I'll be sure to direct you to the appropriate person. I do thank you all for your time today, and I wish you the best for your fall semester, despite all that's going on. And again, I do encourage you to get involved with student organizations. It really will contribute to your college experience. Take care.